The show where we pick a subject we want to talk about and find people we want to talk about it with. This week's topic is Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, specifically the IDW series. I'm your host, Scott, and joining me this week are...
Kendall.
Adam.
Chris.
And John.
All right, so that's everyone we got here. For to stop the show, we've got a little bit of housekeeping. Yes, you heard that correctly. We have a new name. We're no longer the new Level Up Entertainment podcast. It was kind of a mouthful and not very good. Level and Friends is much more accurate because the show is about Level Up and our friends, and we want to talk to. The other thing I want to do before we dive into the subject, but it's still related, in our pinball episode, we mentioned how the Ninja Turtles got a new pinball machine. Since that episode recorded and this one started recorded, it has come out, and Kendall and I specifically have played it. So let's give our report on that real quick. I think it's basically everything I could have hoped for. It would have been.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing. It's a lot of fun, a lot of neat modes that I haven't seen in other games. So,
what flavor of Turtles is it based on?
The 80s cartoon.
Ah, okay, all right.
And they take mostly from the first 5 episodes, which I would argue are the best episodes of that series.
Kind of the only ones you need of that series.
I don't really think that's a difficult argument to win.
It's no secret. I think that show, I loved it as a kid. It's really hard for me to go back and watch now. But the only thing they took that's not from the first 5 episodes is slashes in the game. But there's so many modes and stuff we didn't even get to do. We didn't get to do any of the team ups, so we didn't get to see Casey Jones or anyone. But just as a fan of Turtles, it pulls in everything you want. As a fan of fun pinball games, there's so many modes and it's really fun to shoot. And as an operator, it's really cool because just holding the 2 flipper buttons, you can set it to tournament modes. You can set it to cooperative modes. You can set it to 2v1, 2v2, 3v1. It's got so many things you can do, and it's all really convenient, and it looks great. I think it's another Zombie Yeti one. He's the guy who did Ghostbusters and Deadpool and a bunch of the other recent Stern pinball games, and it looks great. I'm super happy with it. I think it's going to be the next one that comes to the store, but I don't want to jinx it too much because there might be something even more amazing that happens, but I can't possibly fathom what it is.
Well, this is pretty. I just looked up some pictures of this bad boy here.
Oh, yeah. It's good. We should probably shout out. We played it at a Pinball Gallery in Malvern, Pennsylvania. They just got it. Since it's one of their new games, it's one of their $1 per play games.
Oh, it looks like there's a couple of different options for exterior art. Do you know what yours looks like?
Yeah, so the Pro one is the one we usually get. It's the basic one. The other ones have some upgrades, but it's not anything too substantial. And they're usually like, you're talking differences. The differences you're paying like an extra thousands plus dollars per machine. So it's more like if you're a collector with money to blow, kind of like a showpiece. But we usually get the Pro ones because they're the basic game and they kind of get you what you need to get.
Yeah, and that's the one we played, right?
That's the one we played.
So it's got like the big Leonardo in the middle fighting a Mauser.
Where it's got like the whole group behind him. Like I think April's on the left side.
I'm looking at this limited edition one where all the black metal is painted green and it's got the Turtle Man on the side. And that one's cool on the backboard is awesome.
So the regular game has the Turtle Van too, but I know like the premium editions, it opens up, and that's where you can shoot your balls in to lock them. Which is cool, but I don't think is necessarily worth the extra $1,000 or whatever it is.
It's got the 4 turtles in their trench coats and hats on the front of it.
Yeah. Oh no, it's a cool game. It's like most of the best pinball games. There's lots of little hidden stuff throughout it that you have to like really like kind of like look at it and do. It's. I look forward to playing more of it and trying to get decent at it. That said, because we were the only people that played it co-op, we have like all of our scores are in it. I should mention it was unplanned. We bumped into Harry and his girlfriend. You remember Harry? He was the guy I was talking about it with in that pinball podcast. So we all played some co-op, and that's a lot of fun because you share progress in between. So like, say I play first and like I lock a ball that's locked for the next person, stuff like that. Oh, and everyone gets to pick their own turtle, and they have different skills, and you can train in it and level up, and you get like more abilities and things that make them unique from each other.
Level up. Nice name drop, Scott. Nice name drop. Well done.
Yeah. It's got a lot of stuff you can sink your teeth into. In fact, there's like you can get different pizza toppings, and then there's a Ninja Pizza multi-ball, where depending what toppings you get changes like how the multi-ball scores and stuff.
So is it like the ridiculous toppings that they put on their pizzas in the cartoon?
Yeah, like jelly
Very
beans,
much so.
yeah. Like all the weird random stuff. It's really cool. I want to get one that's a little bit closer to us, so I can put some more hours into it. And hopefully it's as close as possible, which means it'd be in the store. But we'll see where we get from there. But that's the housekeeping I wanted to get up to. So now that we're done talking about that part of Ninja Turtles, let's start talking about other parts of Ninja Turtles. I know we want to get into the IDW comics. I feel like there's a lot of things to talk about with it. But just so the viewers at home get a little bit of a feel for where we come from.
There's some small children visiting me at the moment.
Oh,
You're trying to figure out Battleship? What are you trying to figure out?
We're trying to figure out how to play it.
Oh, how to play Battleship?
Yeah.
Well, why don't you bring it upstairs? And I'm sure there is an adult up there who can show you how to play Battleship.
Mom.
Just make sure you don't dump it all out, okay? I put this Battleship game together. This is one from the 80s right here. Can I see the Battleship game real quick?
Regular Battleship?
Yeah, it's the one that I had from when I was a kid.
Okay.
And they like completely tore it apart and ripped off the plastic and everything. And one of the things is now broken. But I put all the pieces back together twice today. So here's hoping I don't have to do it a third after this show. Thanks for visiting, kiddos.
Bye. But yeah, I want to give people a feel for where we're coming from with Turtles, so we can see, because unfortunately that colors your opinions of things going forward. Although I think I can hazard the guess that we're all fans of the IDW series before we get into it. But I can start off. I think I have a similar story to most of us. I was a little kid, Ninja Turtles were out, and it was the bomb. So I was really into it, and then the movie came out, and it's just something I've kept into my whole life. There was a period in the 90s where it was like the Next Mutation and stuff where I kind of really fell off of it. But in the early 2000s, the 4Kids show kind of pulled me back into it. And then that's when, Kendall and I met, and that was something we bonded over and just have been talking about it ever since. But Kendall, want to tell us how you got into Ninja Turtles, if it's any different than what I just said?
Yeah, beat for beat, I'd say pretty similar. Yeah, the cartoon was great, and then it lost me, and then I was lured back in by the Red Skies seasons, and then Next Mutation came out, and
yeah, that kind of
not
killed.
very good. And then same, beat for beat, same story.
Yeah. Adam, how about you?
It was actually the story is about the same. 1987, 5 years old. I have an older brother. Actually, was still collecting comics a little bit, so they got me into comics in general. And then action figures. I mean, cartoon awesome, but action figures. I mean, move over, He-Man. It was all about the action figures and the cartoon. And then, yeah, like the same thing, Next Mutation. Yeah, that got me out, but they've been friends for over 30 years, and I just love it still. It's never gone away. It better not.
How about you, Chris?
Well, I am, let's see, I think am I older than most of you guys or younger than most of you guys? What are we looking at here?
I think you got me by a couple of years.
Okay, I'm 39. I just turned 39. Turtles hit when I was a kid, and I loved the cartoon. Like, was absolutely. I have a thing with things that are uniform, right? I love things that are uniform. Yeah. So like all my old Atari games, I loved the color box ones. You put all the Activision ones together, all the Atari ones together, NES black box games. Loved all that stuff too, right? So when the Turtles come out and it's 4 green turtles that look the same except with the different colored masks, it just played to my neuroses, and I fell in love, and I loved the cartoon, and I would sing the song at school with my friends and everything, and just had a ball with it. But then the action figures, you're 100% right. Action figures start rolling in. Those things are amazing. The movie is still my favorite movie to this day. That first live action Turtles movie, because I'm also big fan of anything Henson. And
say that's your number one movie?
It's my favorite movie of all time.
Okay.
I find it to be cinematic perfection. It's so good.
I don't think it cracks my top 10. It definitely doesn't do my top 5.
Yeah,
it's my favorite Turtles movie, but
That movie is just, I can never not be happy when I'm watching it. I just love everything about it. And I love those suits. I remember being a kid watching that, and my parents were watching like Entertainment Tonight. And there was a whole behind the scenes thing on how they made those work with like the cooling tubes inside of them. And I just thought it was amazing seeing, because you grow up on the cartoon and they're like throwing hot dogs at each other, and then you get this movie, and I had never read the comics because I didn't have any comic book shops near me when I was growing up. And I get the movie, and like Leonardo's using his swords, and Raph's using his size and everything. And it was incredible. And how serious the Shredder was, like, because he was a joke in the cartoon.
Too,
yeah.
Yeah.
And Raph is going, "Durr."
Yeah. The first time he did that, I was like, oh, well,
But
the
I mean,
tagline was, the tagline was, "This ain't no cartoon." So it was right.
But then the video games popped in, right?
Oh my God,
first
the
NES
games,
video game, and as much as that game is deeply flawed, I loved it, and that was kind of my first taste of the comics, because my friend Joey, who I played it at his house, and I was like, well, why are they all red? What are there, 4 Raphs? And they're like, oh no, in the original comics they were all red, and that's just kind of built up this mythology in my head of what the comics would eventually be like. Until I was in like my mid to late 20s that I actually finally got a hand on reprints of the original comics and read them, and I was astonished by how quickly they found themselves in space and stuff. Like,
oh yeah, no, it's that issue 4. That cover that they used for that is the second print cover of issue 4.
Yeah, which is totally wild. But yeah, and like Turtles in Time and the video games. Now, obviously, like Secret of the Ooze was also awesome. Go Ninja, Go Ninja, Go, and Vanilla Ice was totally rad at the time, and Tolka and Razor. I was like, that's not Bebop and Rocksteady, but I get it. They're still pretty cool. But Turtles 3, man,
I love Secret of the Ooze. That's
a great flick.
In some ways, I like it better than the first movie.
In no ways do I like it better than the first movie. But it's got a lot of good stuff in it, but it was a step down. Like, it was a bit more childish. Like, I'm looking right now, I want to show my kids the Turtles movies, right? Because we've watched some of the 2012 series, and that's great. And I really want to show them because it's my favorite movie, but I don't think they're quite ready for that one yet, because it can be a little scary. Meanwhile, Secret of the Ooze is a lot more colorful. And then the Turtles in Time, not that was actually the name of the movie.
It's just Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 3.
Yeah.
We just all called it Turtles in Time because there was a very good
there was an awesome video
There was
game.
an amazing game called that at the same time, and it's both about time
I'm pretty sure the Blu-ray set I have right now actually calls it Turtles in Time.
Well, it's wrong.
It's wrong. It's like it's like Indiana Jones and the Raiders of the Lost Ark. No.
It's just Raiders of the Lost Ark.
That's not the name of that movie, and you can't fool me. So, Next Mutation was a big blow to me, because I loved the idea of a live-action series continuing on, but, like, I have that. My VHS is right in that closet behind that cute pink sorry, I'm bad at cameras. That cute pink castle back there. There's a closet back there, and I swear there's a VHS of the Coming Out of Their Shells tour right in there. So I had experience with bad Ninja Turtles in suits, but man, that show, Next Mutation, was putrid.
It's funny. We were just talking because we were talking about music at the store earlier today, and we're talking about our first shows, concerts we've been to. I think the second tour, the Turtles Get Down in Your Town, I think that was the first show I've ever been to.
Wow, nice.
But all right, well,
but that's how I got into Turtles, and I've loved them on and off since.
John's been very patient, and he's got potentially the most different one, because you're the only person here I don't think that was alive in the 90s.
No.
So how did you get into Turtles here?
It pretty much started with video games, actually. Scott, as you know, like I'm a huge Star Wars fan. Like as a kid, like Star Wars was everything for me. But Turtles was one of those things that it kind of came along in a weird way. Like the first run that I had with Turtles was, I think the Game Boy Advance game at the time. I loved it. Like I played the heck out of that game. But then, watching the shows and growing up with the 2003 show, which was what I watched, as a kid, that was really awesome. I think where I really got into it was because growing up in a family that was from North Jersey and loving like sports teams from New York and whatnot, like the Yankees, Knicks, and all those teams, being that they were superheroes from New York under the sewers, it was just something that I just loved. I think it was just the whole atmosphere of it.
Yeah, I will say That 2K3 show was really good, and it pulled a lot from the original comics, which was nice because I didn't know there was comics until, as I remember the NES game, I also had that. I was like, wow, they look really mean. What's with like all the red? I thought they just colored them wrong like they did in the show all the time. But it wasn't until high school, I think, we were talking about that we discovered the original comics, and the first issue I think might be my single favorite comic book like issue of all time.
Okay.
It's really good. The original Mirage books, I love them, but like they're really inconsistent in quality. But I think that's a good segue into like some of our favorite and least favorite iterations. I think my favorite one might have to, it's hard to pick one, but as much as my heart wants to say the 80s cartoon, I think it's the 2003 cartoon, because it's kind of the best of both worlds at the time. It pulls the best stuff from the Mirage comics. It has enough nods and references to other media, but it still does its own thing. And my least favorite is easily the Next Mutation. That is the most unwatchable Turtles thing I think that exists. But Kendall, what's your favorite and least favorite?
So I think, and this might be blasphemy, I don't know. I think I'm going to have to say my most favorite iteration is the recently concluded 2012 cartoon.
Okay.
Solid choice.
I haven't watched enough of it.
It's so good.
Yeah.
It pulls from Mirage from the 80s cartoon. It pulls from like all of your favorite movies. It just like is a very rich universe in 5 seasons and great characterization and character development for the Turtles and like their extended family.
Their design is great too. They made them all so unique visually, and not in a bad way. I liked how Splinter was physically imposing. That show did so much right. It was ridiculous.
Yeah. Probably my favorite Splinter by far. He's just so good.
He's so good in that.
Yeah.
He's
that
like
cartoon
bordering
is
Uncle
great.
Iroh levels of good. Like he's good.
We'll get into Uncle Iroh Splinter comparisons a little bit later.
Yeah,
I know I
yeah.
had a conversation the other day when we were hanging out talking Turtles. I've only seen sparse episodes. Kendall, the only episodes I've ever seen are the episodes you've showed me of it. So I need to actually sit down and with Hulu or something and watch them. From what I've seen of it, I think if I watch the whole show, I might pick it as my favorite as well. But because I haven't seen it, I will say the 2K3 show gets really bad by the end. It kind of loses its mind.
Yeah, this show, it ends when it should end.
Okay.
For sure. And of course, my least favorite, even a crossover with Power Rangers couldn't save it. Next Mutation is.
Oh yeah, it's rough. But Adam, how about you?
Oh, well, I'm going to go back with the original series just because when I was a kid, but I'm really loving the current, IDW series.
That's a good pick, yeah.
And it's got a little bit of everything too, but the 2012, that is an awesome series, so definitely watch that, Scott. They even got did you guys see the Halloween episodes where they're all dressed as the monsters too? I mean,
Oh, and is that a reference to the toy line then?
yeah, they even do toy line ones. They go all over the place. And
I gotta watch it.
the old ones too, the 2003 Turtles Forever. That's an awesome movie.
Yeah.
Love that. And of course, the worst one is going to be, Next Mutation. Also, the Christmas special.
Oh, I forgot about those.
Oh, yeah.
Rap.
Oh,
Yeah.
God.
Sorry, but that's the worst.
Well, the franchise as a whole, I think we can agree is a series of great peaks and valleys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're very high and they're very low.
I don't think there's much that's in the middle now that we're thinking about it. Because the stuff that I like is good, and the stuff I don't like is really bad.
Yeah, that's kind of how I feel.
Chris, feeling any different than the rest of us here?
Well, my favorite, I would agree. My favorite is definitely the IDW series. And it's a close run between that and the 2012 series, right? The 2012 series knocked my socks off. I mean, the first episode had, like, when they first tasted pizza, I literally laughed out loud. Like, that was a legit funny moment. But the current the IDW run has just been, it's been shocking. It's been amazing how they've pulled in and reinvented all these different characters. I mean, I never thought I would enjoy stuff with the neutrinos as much, but like, there they were, and I dig it. I find the continuity amazingly well done. It's just built a wonderful world, and how they made Splinter in such an interesting and flawed character. I wasn't sure about the whole reincarnation angle at first, but it really grew on me, and I think it's my favorite. And I mean, least favorite.
Yeah. Next Mutation. And
yeah. if only because, like, another one of my favorite iterations is, I don't want to say movie turtles, because they're such different, well, not different animals, they're still turtles, but
I mean, yeah.
in the first movie, they're so different from what they are in 2 and then 3, and which I think, isn't Next Mutation technically a continuation of that universe? Isn't that in continuity?
Not really, because
sort of?
Shredder doesn't make any sense in it.
That's true, yeah.
But
fair enough.
but they're clearly in a lair that's supposed to be like that subway lair. I will say the subway lair is probably their coolest lair.
Yeah, that was pretty awesome. I liked that a lot.
But how about you, John? Favorite, least favorite?
My favorite is definitely the 2003 one. It's tough because I really like the the 90s show too, but between like the toy line, the video games, and also I forgot the name of the episode, but my favorite episode from that one was like the collaboration between like the 90s Turtles, and then like the 2K3 Turtles, and
yeah, it was Turtles Forever.
Yeah, Turtles Forever. That was really awesome. So that's probably my favorite is 2K3, but my least favorite is actually the Michael Bay movies.
They're okay. They're not as bad as
yeah.
It wasn't as bad as I was expecting it to be, but I had very low expectations.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's what makes them so bad, is that it's not that they're worse than Next Mutation, they're just a little bit more insulting.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I might have to change my answer though. My least favorite is.
I find them more watchable than Next Mutation. I find Next Mutation like unbearable.
And at least Michael Bay gave us Bebop and Rocksteady
in the big screen finally.
There are redeeming qualities, which you cannot say for Next Mutation.
There's because like, at least I like some of the turtles in those movies. I don't like any of them in Next Mutation. And the costumes are just like, you can see all of their eye holes for the actors.
Oh, yeah.
It's just
so gross.
It's just bad. But all right, so if anyone hasn't read the IDW comics, we all want you to read them. They're great. We have the trades, and if we're out of them at the store, we can order them for you. Get your hands on them. So very, very quickly, I want to do some spoiler-free impressions. Obviously, a couple of people picked it as their favorite Turtles iteration, and that's fair. It's up there for me. It would be a contender. It's really good. Right off the bat, like, they do say that I had some issues with it off the bat. Like we mentioned, they do some stuff with reincarnation that I wasn't necessarily a fan of at first. I had my trepidations with it because it's pretty different how it starts. But once you kind of get into that, they definitely go and do their own thing, and it's really, really cool. But I'll give everyone else a chance to kind of give their as spoiler-free impressions as we can, and then we're going to spoil and just talk about our favorite parts from issues 1 through 100, because they're up to, as of the recording for this, issue 106 has not come out yet, but as you guys listen to this, it will be coming out that same week that this episode goes live. But yeah, so I'll throw it to the floor here. Adam, if you want, since you were the first person to pick it.
Sure. Well, if you haven't read the series, you got 100+ issues to read, so get to it. But I mean, I started right off the top. When it came out, August, it was 2011, and it's just a great series. I mean, you get a little combination of all the series combined, a nice emulsion of everything. But then they do their own thing on top of it. But it's just a great ride. I mean, if I had one little disc, sometimes there's a little more talking than action, just a little bit. But overall, great storytelling, great iterations of everything, and they keep you going. So I mean, I want this to go. I mean, when they got to 74 issues, that was a big mile. Well, 73 was a big milestone. So to be at 100 plus now, it's just awesome. So, and then great, Splinter Shredder stuff, not going to spoil anything. And then just great bringing in all the different characters and then some new characters like Old Hob. I mean, what?
Yeah.
Oh, Hob is awesome.
He's really grown on me. I didn't necessarily like him at first because we'll get into that when we get into spoilers.
Right.
But you are introduced to him in the first issue.
Yeah.
I don't think you're supposed to like him.
Yeah.
But just awesome all around. And then so many macro series to read too. So
But yeah, there's a lot. There's, even though we say they're up to issue 106, there's way more issues than that because
probably closer to 200.
Yeah, there's a lot of side series and stuff there because they usually give. There was TMNT Universe for a little while where was the series they could give for like their side characters. They do like a lot of limited series. They did a couple of micro series for both heroes and villains. So there's a lot of stuff. It's all good. I would say you don't necessarily have to read all of that to enjoy the main series, but it'll definitely help flesh out their world.
Yeah, because none of it's throwaway stuff, which is cool because they all has some sort of even minor ramifications on the rest of the things. Even the wacky crossovers like Ghostbusters and Batman, like they call back to that stuff.
The
which is really
Ghostbusters
cool.
ones are referenced. The Ghostbusters ones are super important in the Ghostbusters series.
Oh, really?
Oh yeah, because that's how they get like a transdimensional portal, and all of their like things after that kind of are because of that technology. And they reference the Turtles and stuff from there on out. But
That's
I do know they Michelangelo does reference a conversation he has with Venkman in the main series after that, after the second one. But we'll get into that because I have a lot to say about that because Turtles and Ghostbusters are like my biggest jams. But yeah, if anyone else has any kind of impressions they want to give off before we jump into spoilers, now's the chance. But
I definitely want to chime in and say how impressed I am with how emotionally resonant the series is. Yeah. When the series starts, Raph is separated from the group. And I mean, I don't think it's much of a spoiler to say that he's eventually reunited with them. But there are some real heavy hitting emotional moments in this book that really just, they deliver in ways that you don't get out of stuff like even stuff that's as good as some of the older cartoons. This book is so remarkably well written and 90% of the time well drawn that you really care about the Turtles, not just because they're cool, not just because you want to read the awesome action sequences, because you give a crap what happens to them and the people around them. And that's one of the things that impresses me so much about this book on the regular. It impressed me a lot in the 2012 series too, but really this book hits that a lot harder. I think it's an important thing not to overlook. Like their motivations are true, and they're so well written that the book definitely moves me more often than other books that I read. So I think it's a really good selling point to this book is like it's not just Ninja Turtles beating up the Foot Clan. There's so much more to it. It's very meaty, and there's a lot of rewarding reading in this book. Just because it's a good story and it's incredibly well told. Yeah,
I was gonna say that is true. They are. It's gonna sound funny because they're turtles, but they're written like real people. They're not that they were ever treated as not real characters before, but like honestly, in terms of comics in general, this is one of the few long series comics where like the characters grow and change. Like that doesn't really happen with Spider-Man or Batman, especially for books that don't get, they get 100+ issues. Stuff changes and like they grow and change and like
the characters have an arc. And,
like when Michelangelo is sad, that's sad, because it's Michelangelo. He's so happy. He's the levity of the group, and then he's the party dude. But man, sometimes he gets his feelings hurt, and they convey that so well of how he's just got this childlike innocence to him, and you see his heart broken. It's heartbreaking to read, and that's not the easiest thing to convey without coming off too heavy-handed or coming off childish or coming off melodramatic. It's just straight up dramatic. It's very, very well done.
Well, if you guys are cool with that, I'm ready to jump into spoilers, and we can talk about some of that cool stuff we just alluded to. So, real quick, if you're watching or listening, and you haven't read the series, stop right now, go buy it, or just go get your mitts on it, go to your library, whatever you do to read it. It's highly recommended if you're a Turtles fan, and even if you're not, I think it stands on its own as just a good piece of comics. But yeah, let's get into the full spoilers. We might as well start at the beginning. So the Turtles and Splinter are now the reincarnations of Hamato Yoshi and his 4 sons, which was a little off-putting for me at first. I was like, I don't know if I like that. But in there, when they mutated from the same canister, there was a cat that was trying to eat them. Splinter clawed his eyes out or his eye out, and now he becomes like one of their villains named Old Hob. So that's kind of what the beginning is about. Raphael got like separated from them, has been on his own for a while, and they've been looking for him. That's just kind of how the series starts. Like I said, I wasn't super into it at first. I've seen them rebooted so many times, and it's just like, I'm like, all right, what are you doing new? I'm like, I wasn't really sure what I was liking at first. I don't know how you guys felt about it at first.
I was in love with it right away. I don't mind. I know a lot of people with Rise of the TMNT were complaining, like, that's not the Ninja Turtles, or even with the Michael Bay movies, like, that's not the Ninja Turtles. Like, I don't mind if they mess around with things as long as it's delivered with heart. And that was my problem with the Michael Bay movie, or I keep calling it Michael Bay movie. He doesn't really produce the darn things, but whatever.
Yeah, well, it's got his look all over.
Exactly. And the Turtles were monsters.
Literally, yeah.
They were literal horrifying monsters. And that was just an intrinsic betrayal of what those characters are, because they're supposed to be kind, and it just seemed wrong. And so with the whole reincarnate, no, go ahead.
To be fair, real quick, if there was man-sized turtles, they would be terrifying to look at.
Oh God, they would be. That's why if you're going to adapt this into live action, you've got to do it with you've got to do it really carefully. You got to do it with a genius like Henson backing you, because real Ninja Mutant Turtles would be horrifying monsters. But there's a reason that they've never been drawn like that, is because that's not the point. But either way, when they did this with the reincarnation thing, I thought it was a weird angle, but the characters themselves were so interesting and so well written, it didn't bug me, because I mean, change what you want as long as you're doing it with heart, and also the fact that it's Kevin freaking Eastman, right? He can do what he wants. if he says this is where the character's origins now, well, who am I to argue?
I will say that's probably one of the strengths of the series is, like, Kevin Eastman's been involved. He's Eastman and Laird are the 2 creators of the series. He's been involved with the entire series. I think have they had multiple writers on the main series? I know all of the side series have a different creative team.
I feel like it's been Eastman and a couple of different writers. I think I feel like it might be Eastman, it might be editorial, but it feels like there's been like a guiding hand throughout the whole run. Yeah.
And to be fair, because we'll talk about this later, because again, this is one other thing Kendall and I are very passionate about. I like giving me something new. I just wasn't sure the book wasn't hitting me like 100% right off the bat. Because I think they also did the thing where, like, April named them and stuff. It seemed like a lot of stuff they were changing for the sake of the movie, because that's kind of their movie origin for those Michael Bay movies. And I was just like, I don't know. But I stuck with it, and here I am, 106 issues later. And it's one of the few books I've gotten, like I said, it came out in 2011. 10 years, I don't even collect Spider-Man or Batman like that,
The thing with the red bandanas too, I
love the red bandanas.
I loved that.
Yeah, that was a fun nod to the original series. But I don't know if the other guys, how did you think about how it started? Like,
my first impressions, I wasn't, I was entertained, but nothing blew me away until the big reveal of the reincarnation. Not sure how early that happens, but everything seems kind of like, okay, yeah, like things are a little different, which, like you said, I like. Turtles are very versatile, and in the stories they can tell anyway, and I like seeing new things happen with them. But yeah. I loved the red bandanas. I loved Raph being separate from them at the beginning. kind of gives more, more of a reason for his, brooding nature. Yeah.
I will say the Raph thing made me a little nervous because I know Kevin Eastman's involved. And every time Kevin Eastman writes Turtles, it's just the Raph show. And I was like, oh, is this going to be... So that's kind of, I think, where I was a little like... Because some of the worst Ninja Turtles comics from Mirage are ones he wrote himself, in my opinion. Listen, I love the original series and stuff. There's some great issues of it, but like a lot of it's stinkers. And you talk about they never portrayed them realistic. They definitely did in some of the old comics. I've got them in with my comics. I don't have them dug out or pull them out right now, but they're pretty scary looking. Yeah. So again, I didn't really like reread the series to refresh my memory for this, but like I think I remember the next. So one of the next big things I know they did because IDW was doing the Infestation crossovers. So they were doing the Infestation 2 like Cthulhu ones. Like all of their licensed things kind of dealt like these like Cthulhu things. So it was a little disappointing that they didn't get to meet like G.I. Joe and some of those other books, but they eventually did meet the Ghostbusters, which is super exciting. I think that was it issue 50 was the big the big confrontation with Shredder, right?
Is that
Yes.
City Fall?
Yeah, that was the big one.
All right,
City Fall happened before. City Fall was like the first big event.
yeah.
That was around like 25, right?
Yeah, I think so. Because it seems to be like
heck
every
was
25 issues or so, there's a big kind of a shake-up.
Was it-
But I will
What was
say
that story arc called? Oh, this is going to drive me nuts.
it's going to drive me nuts too. I'm just going to push past
The Gauntlet.
Oh, yes, that's what it's
The
called.
Gauntlet. There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I will say before that, they did introduce Bebop and Rocksteady into this. And this is something I didn't realize. Kendall pointed out to me in the lead up to issue 100, they were doing like kind of recaps and interviews with Kevin Eastman and the creative teams that worked on the books as they were leading up to it. So Bebop and Rocksteady in this are a little bit different than what we normally are used to them have. They're much more like thuggish goons. And apparently that's how, because I thought they were invented for the 80s show. Apparently, Kendall, you want to tell the story because you're the one that told me this. I'm kind of stealing your spotlight here.
No, it's fine. But yeah. Like you said, in the lead up to issue 100, when Eastman was discussing the introduction of Bebop and Rocksteady to the new series, he said that they were closer to how they were originally envisioned for a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles pen and paper role-playing game. So that prompted me to start hunting down all these role-playing game books. I haven't been able to find one with them in it yet, but... Well,
I guess that's a good segue. We are definitely planning a session of it. I came up with my character. So we're going to go off on a tangent here. It's a hockey-playing beaver named Knucklehead. I'm super stoked to play him. I was trying to come up with an animal to be that's like not inherently like an elephant, like something that's super strong and tough. I wanted to be something that's kind of like offbeat. And then once I came up with the name, I was like, perfect. I'm moving ahead. I'll do it with a Canadian accent. I'm very excited to play that. The tabletop game though does look very confusing. It looks way more complicated than it needs to be.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah. So I thought
you
that
all want to play. Come on and talk to Scott.
We might live stream that if you guys want to talk about what kind of mutants you want to be. But yeah. So it was interesting to learn that Bebop and Rocksteady, because I didn't know they were from I knew that RPG existed because in the old comics there's ads for it. But I didn't know they were in the RPG. I thought that was really cool. But I do know they were in the Gauntlet before then. But so how the Gauntlet worked is obviously they've been building up for a confrontation with the Foot Clan, and eventually they Splinter and Shredder, who they knew each other in their past lives. So there's like a big history. They used to be part of the Foot Clan together, and they were kind of brothers. And then betrayal and whatnot happened, and Splinter and Shredder's the one that killed the original incarnations of the Hamato family there. So they're leading up to that, and Splinter challenges him to this one-on-one honorable duel for leadership of the Foot Clan, murders the Shredder, and becomes leader of the Foot Clan, and was in pretty huge status quo change for the rest of the series. And I didn't really see that coming, and I thought that was really cool. Actually, that was after Leonardo joined the Foot Clan too, right?
Yeah.
that was a shocker.
That was
Yeah.
wild.
Which is crazy. But that's where they're playing with the. Oh, did Donatello die before then too? I kind of forget.
No, that was 43 or 44.
Yeah, so it's right about there. Or Bebop and Rocksteady just beat him to
that
death
was
with
so
a
brutal.
sledgehammer.
Yeah, that was a
Sledgehammer
shocker.
through the shell. That
I'll-
was so hard.
I'll be
Oh.
honest with you. At the time, a pretty big part of me was like, I think they killed him for real.
Yeah.
It was so brutal. And I was like, oh, wow. And then, like, they show him talking to their mother in, like, the afterlife. I'm like, is he not coming back? I'm like,
He's
oh.
my favorite turtle, so that
Like-
was really hurting me. That was really hurting me.
It was it's one of the many moments in the comic where I was like, oh, my God. I mean, I guess spoiler alert, he gets better, but well, because you know the Image series, you know, Volume 3, like he got something similar happened to him, and he kind of became like a cyborg, and like they weren't afraid to like kill or damage the characters, you know. Adam, I know
Well, they
you've been
put him
getting-
in
yeah.
Fugitoid's body, right? Is that what they did?
No, they
It was this metal.
Metalhead.
It was Metalhead, not Fugitoid,
Yeah.
right? Fugitoid was the one who helped him with the technology, right?
Yeah, to do
Yeah.
that. With
Yeah,
the
God,
Fugitoid, yeah.
Let's talk about Fugitoid at some point. Just want to throw that
Yeah.
out there. That whole reveal of Fugitoid, that knocked my socks off.
Oh yeah, where he was really their Professor Harold or whatever.
Oh, yeah.
Not
Not
what was
Harold.
that? Not Harold. What was that guy's name?
He
I don't
was
even
Chet.
remember.
Yeah,
Chet.
Chet,
That
yeah,
was
yeah.
it. Chet.
Harold's
Yeah, how could you
Harold's-
forget Chet?
And then I was
yeah.
reading
Harold's
the
the
main
grumpy guy.
stories. I was
Yeah.
working at a comic book store at the time, reading the main story, and I'm telling everybody would listen, shout out from the rooftops, read this freaking book. It's so good.
Yeah.
And then you got to read the micro series. I'm like, oh, do I have to read the micro series? I'm like, you get to the Fugitoid micro series, you're gonna want to read the micro series. Trust me, that book is important.
Well,
Could
the
not-
Fugit- the-
oh,
the-
blew
the
me away.
Fugitoid's funny in general because the Fugitoid predates the Turtles and was supposed to be Eastman and Laird's big comic, and then they just doodled a Ninja Turtle, thought it was funny, and made this gag comic, and that blew up. So they're like, "Well, throw the Fugitoid in it real fast." It just became like a side character in this joke series they came up with.
It was a play on Daredevil, right? It was supposed to be
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
yeah.
because their origin's the exact same origin. You just continue to follow the canister, it bounces off
Yeah.
the kid's face, and it goes into the sewers.
They're fighting the foot instead of the hand.
They split instead of the hand. It's
Stick.
once you know what it is, yeah, stick and splinter. Once you know what it's pretty obvious.
Sounds
But
like,
like
a
as-
funky club for podiatrists.
Yeah, but like
I
oh
keep
my God.
asking for it. It's not happening, but I keep asking for it. Daredevil and TMNT. I know.
I'm shocked.
How
it
has that
hasn't
not happened?
Yeah, yeah.
How has that not happened? That's
I don't think
bananas.
Marvel's doing crossovers anymore or something, right? Something.
Yeah, Marvel hasn't done anything. Marvel hasn't been cool in a while.
Oh, sweetie, I can't right now. I'm
Come on, Marvel. You can do it. Come on.
Yeah, give us the crossover.
It's cool that they've met Batman now because you know animal themed street vigilantes. You know,
Mhm.
with like ninja training. Which I guess let's talk about those real fast. Oh my God, I love the first one. Was everything I wanted a crossover between the two to be. The Turtles and Splinter and Shredder and some of the Foot Clan get stuck in Batman's world, and like so you get to see them fight a bunch of Batman villains. The Batman villains get mutated into like mutant animals of them, like versions of
That
themselves.
was wild.
Oh, I was so happy. It was like everything I wanted it to be. And then they did 2 more crossover
Yeah.
series, I was also stoked.
And
The
they
last-
had
yeah.
and Batman the Animated Series and the 2012 cartoon do a
Oh,
crossover.
right. Yeah, I
Yeah.
forgot about that one.
Yeah, that one I really
Oh,
like.
yeah, I got that too. Yeah.
Yeah, that one's the one that's easy to forget about. Because the other one, because they did 2 more of the, I don't want to say adult ones, but like the
Comic
ones,
book ones.
Yeah.
The one with like their main comic book.
Yeah, the
version of
comic
each other.
continuities. Yeah.
Yeah.
And the movie wasn't bad too. The Batman versus TMNT.
I haven't watched
I
that
enjoyed
yet.
the movie.
It's basically the first one, pretty pretty close to it. It was fun.
Yeah, they changed some stuff. The one thing that's nice about that is you get to see Batman mutate.
Yeah.
So if you haven't watched it yet, you should definitely watch it.
Hmm.
The one nitpick I don't like about it is I don't like the art style. The Turtles look like Homestar Runner characters to me. In it,
Now I need a Turtles Homestar crossover.
but my favorite part of the series is during the end credits. If you haven't seen it, I will not spoil it here. So definitely watch it. I want the end credits to be real so bad, in the worst way possible. But yeah, it's a fun series. Basically, if you see Ninja Turtles and it says IDW on it, buy it. It's gold. Speaking of the side series, they gave Bebop and Rocksteady 2 of them. The first one, Bebop and Rocksteady destroy everything. They destroy the entire multiverse, which I think, Kendall, you were telling me now links together the original Mirage books and like all of the different versions of it.
Yeah, so in the second Ninja Turtle annual, it reveals that Rennet in the IDW continuity is the same Rennet as the Mirage continuity. And then in the Bebop and Rocksteady crossover, you actually see Bebop and Rocksteady travel to one of the issues of Tales of
TMNT,
Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and they like give birth
to like the multiverse.
to the IDW
Yeah.
Ninja Turtle universe.
So each world they go to in it's got a completely different artist on it. But when they go to that issue specifically, it's in black and white, and the turtles are all wearing or the only color is they're wearing red, because it's the IDW comics. Even though in the actual comics for that it was just black and white, but they all were supposed to be wearing red in it, which was a really cool touch. I remember because that's like the first thing you see in that first issue, and I was like, "Oh, this is really cool!" And like that was a really fun series. And they got a dinosaur companion. They have a
Anchovy.
Anchovy, yeah, they have a dromaeosaur, like a Jurassic Park style velociraptor. It's not really a velociraptor, it's a thing like that. I'm very, very particular. Well, the turtles get a Protoceratops.
Yeah,
Pepperoni. Yeah, which is super cute. Especially when she has her little Ninja Turtle bandana on.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's funny, when they go back in time, they create Leatherhead. The turtles and the turtle, the little foreshot that they did.
I thought
Really?
Leatherhead came from that island, the Burno Island that the Technodrome's terraforming. But maybe they did. I don't remember. Yeah. But
Yeah. Speaking of the Technodrome.
Oh yeah, it's in this. Krang's really cool in this. In fact, they referenced Chirel, which is the Utrom Shredder from the 2K3 show. I think he just showed up more recently in the comics as like the ultimate evil Utrom after Krang.
I am really interested to see where things are going with Krang right now with Leatherhead.
Yeah, well,
That's disturbing.
Well,
and
Kendall, you read up to issue
scared.
100 now, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I guess we should mention Leatherhead also hates Krang. I think issue 75,
The
trial.
they finally capture Krang because the citizens of Dimension X want to put him on trial because Krang's like kind of a galactic
War criminal.
genocidal war criminal who's been conquering planets and stuff. So they're putting him on trial. I think they find him. Doesn't he get off or something? Then that's why Leatherhead is like nuts to this and just eats him.
I think so.
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah. So
It's a brilliant ending.
Oh, amazing! I loved it. Well, it turns out Krang's
It's not the ending.
Krang's kind of still alive in him, and it's really creepy and weird. And I don't want to get into it too much because we haven't really touched on it again since. I know the upcoming issue he's on the cover, so I assume he'll be in
And
it.
it's gross, and it makes me so sad because, like, I kind of like Leatherhead, and
This version of Leatherhead was really cool. I kind of dug him. I dug him sort of becoming like an anti-hero, like Venom Lethal Protector a little bit.
He was pretty scary when he was first introduced too. That was like a great horror comic.
100% agree. He's very imposing, and because when you think back to my initial impressions of Leatherhead is a cowboy hat and I guarantee. And
Yeah,
this is a pretty different. Animal, but also shout to the 2012 series. Leatherhead was also pretty spectacular. But the this comic book version of him, I loved it when he just chomped down Krang. I was just like, oh, got that. Just thinking about eating a Krang is like,
Oh, yeah.
But
it probably wiggles on the way down and stuff too.
yeah.
But oh yeah, no, that was a great.
I'm
moment.
saying eating a Krang because that was such a weird thing they did in the 2012 show where they made the species Krang.
Yeah.
And at first I hated it, but after 5 minutes listening to him talk, I was like, nah, you can have it. It's fine.
Yeah. I gotta watch more of that show. Like the stuff I've seen is great. I love the Usagi because I'm also a big Usagi fan. So the Usagi Yojimbo crossovers in it was really good. Of course he met the IDW versions. But since it's the same Usagi that's always existed, he's never had different continuity, at least in comics. He remembers meeting the Mirage ones, and it's like they're different versions of them that he met, which was interesting. And
I loved that.
Yeah.
Because it's so easily they could have just like ignored that.
Yeah, just did it again, whatever. I wouldn't have complained if they did that, but it's cool that they kept it the same.
I missed that series. Yeah. That was kind of before I had... That was before I had everything ironed out with you guys giving me my comics, and I totally missed the Usagi books, and I'm like, I've never gone back to try to find them.
I love the Usagi series. It's now that it's at oh god, is it at Image now?
It's at IDW.
IDW,
Yeah.
IDW. All right, let's talk real quick because this is obviously an IDW thing. I think IDW's been killing it with the license books. They're basically the new Dark Horse. Because basically everything I've read from them that's based on a property that you have any interest in has been good. Which I guess speaking of, they've been doing the Ghostbusters comics, and the Turtles got to meet them, and it was again everything I kind of wanted it to be. The first issue, so the Turtles, they've had like this pantheon of gods that have been kind of like playing with their world a little bit.
Crazy awesome reinvention of the Rat King.
Yeah, the Rat King's one of them. So anyway, one of them got stuck in the the Ghostbusters universe, and because he's there, like he's got different powers and they're more like ghostly and like ethereal. So anyway, I forget how the Turtles wind up there. I know it's like with a trans-dimensional portal. Maybe they were fighting him and they went through it. I think that's what happened. But they have to work with the Ghostbusters to try to figure out how to get back to him. But they come up with like tactile proton things so the Turtles can fight ghosts that this guy summons. Eventually the Ghostbusters trap him and then just teleport him into the middle of space, because if they put him in the containment unit he'd be able to get out. But whenever the Pantheon meets, they mentioned that that character is not missing and nobody knows where he is, which is really fun.
Yeah, I loved that crossover. It's something I've I was born in 1986. I've been wanting that crossover for most of my life. And I was glad to have it delivered.
And I'm glad it was good, because like you said, we had a Ninja Turtles Power Rangers crossover, and it wasn't good. Fortunately, we just got a new one, which I don't think everyone here has finished or read. So I won't go to spoilers on that, but it's pretty good. I will point out it's not the IDW continuity Turtles. They kind of just invented them as if they existed in the Boom Power Rangers world, which is fine.
Yeah, which I mean, according to the Power Rangers canon, the Turtles do exist in their world.
Yeah, but
so it works.
It's good because it lets them do more things with the Turtles, because like they can use Shredder and Bebop and Rocksteady, and like I think the Technodrome shows up at one point in it because they mentioned Dimension X. So they let them play with some cool stuff. They're a little bit more like the 80s Turtles. But that one's really cool. It's kind of, it hits a lot of the big things you would want to hit in a crossover with them. You know, you get some Megazord action, you get giant mutants and stuff. So it's fun. But yeah, so back to the IDW books. Yeah, lots of crazy stuff happens in it. They're not afraid to do twists and turns. I like that Hob became leader of the Mutanimals, which are from the Archie comic series, which is really cool. They made Mondo Gecko, even though he kept that silly name, they made him pretty cool.
Yeah.
He was never one of my favorite characters. It is cool in the 2012 series that his voice actor is the original Michelangelo. But But yeah, I don't know. I'm kind of leading. I'm kind of dominating this. If there's any moments I missed that you guys want to talk about, feel free to tell me to shut up, and I'll get out of the way for you.
Geez, the amount of moments were. I mentioned the Fugitoid thing. That was a huge shock for me. I loved the attempted brokered peace between Karai and Splinter. I thought was fascinating. I really loved that all those conversations that they had trying to broker peace between the clans. We mentioned Splinter taking over the Foot Clan. That was huge. The split between the family, where they splintered off and made made their own. That wasn't even on purpose, but they created Clan Hamato. Jenica was a really. I mean, I know that I don't even remember what issue that was where that really happened. So I don't know if that's past what we're talking about, but just that character.
It was like 85 or something like that.
Yeah, well, she showed up earlier in the series because she was. I think they might have even introduced her. I think they introduced her when Leonardo was in the Foot Clan as just like another tune-in. Mm-hmm. But she kind of became Splinter kind of became her mentor in the Foot Clan. So she kind of looks up to him like kind of the same way the Turtles do a little bit, even though like he's kind of quite literally their father now. But I love that she was an interesting character beforehand. She started dating Casey Jones a little bit. Obviously in the lead up to issue 100. Did they call it City at War? Because I know that's the classic Turtles.
Yeah, I think they called it City at War.
Yeah, where all of the different factions kind of go to war with each other over Karai and Splinter not being able to come to terms. Like Splinter was trying to give up leadership of the Foot Clan for Karai because he wanted to reconnect with the Turtles, which was also really interesting. But we should probably set up that the reason that they couldn't come to an impasse is the Turtles saved a bunch of orphans, and the only place that had the resources to take care of them were the Foot. But like they kind of put their foot down. No pun intended. There's going to be a lot of this that they weren't going to make them into ninjas because that's what they were supposed to do. Like Mikey really went against Splinter on that, and it was again one of those emotional Mikey moments where like that finally got through to Splinter. They're like, we'll take care of the kids and raise them. But like Karai's like, listen, that's what's going to happen. You know, that's how ninja clans work. He's like, so he put his foot down, and then she challenged him to that same honorable duel that to the death that Splinter did to Shredder, but he denied it. And because of that, he spurned there was like such a dishonorable thing. She kind of declared war on him, and it led to like the whole city going to war, like you said. In this, we should mention that the ooze has regenerative properties. I know that's how like the Utrams have been like in stasis on a lot of different things. So they were trying to get some. Jenica becomes mortally wounded in that. So they're trying to get some clean, like some ooze from some of the different places that have it, because there's a lot of different factions that they set up. But they can't, and the only thing that they can do is do a blood transfusion with Leo, which saves her, but it mutates her into a turtle. So that's why if you see there's a fifth Ninja Turtle with yellow, that's her. I remember when they announced that there's a female Ninja Turtle, everyone was mad because they remembered Next Mutation. And I'm like, the problem with the Next Mutation wasn't that it was a female turtle, it's just that it was bad.
It's just that it was trash.
Jenica was already a really likable character for a long time that we knew. There's no reason it would have changed. It's just she's got an insane new status quo, which sets up all kinds of new story arcs she can do. And they gave her, she just recently had one of those character-specific miniseries, and that was really interesting where it dug more into her past before she joined the Foot Clan. But she's been a really great addition. I really like her. She gets along with the Turtles.
Relationship with Casey. I liked how, Casey reacted to Jenica becoming a turtle. That was pretty, because, that'd be
shocking.
Pretty weird.
Yeah, it would have been
a strange thing.
And they didn't do it in the most tactful way. It was just kind of like, well, here's Jenica, and she's a turtle now. But
speaking of Casey, another one of my favorite moments, just general things in the book, was Casey's dad. That was a big surprise to me that he was Hun, and that there's been this like kind of attempted those characters butt heads so often, and it's like he's definitely his father, and it's they have a more interesting relationship than just Han bad. He's a big dumb brute, but like there is definitely a part of him that loves his son, but just can't reconcile that his son doesn't want to be a scumbag like him. And I think that's a really interesting story, and it's handled really well. And pretty much all of Casey's relationships are really interesting, and I'm sad we haven't seen more of him lately, but it makes sense given the current status quo, and I'm curious to see where we eventually get back to on that, because I never remember the girl in the techno suit's name.
Angel.
Yeah.
Well, it's kind of the nobody suit from the old comics.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Alapex. Oh, Alapex.
Oh, yeah,
There's
we're
another
talking about new characters. Yeah, she's
another
a
great one. Yeah, she's awesome.
Official member.
Yeah. Yeah, well,
That's
yes.
right. Yeah, she's officially in the
Well,
clan.
that's after issue 100.
No.
Well, surprise. It wasn't exactly a huge
Well,
She's been there
surprise.
from the beginning, so it's
Yeah,
okay.
well, they've been teasing a romantic relationship with her and Raph, But like
Yeah.
we should mention she's an Arctic fox that the Foot Clan mutated. They were experimenting with mutants. That's where Bebop and Rocksteady come from. But they just love it, and they love being bad guys, so they just keep doing what they're doing. Which is part of the why they're so likable. They're just straight up bad guys.
Yeah, they're just bad.
But yeah, obviously Aliplex has a change of heart and becomes one of their most stalwart companions and allies.
And she had a big thing with Kitsune, right? Like
yeah,
that was kind of her thing. Is Kitsune was kind of controlling her a lot, and this kind of a fighting your quote unquote destiny of who you're supposed to be is something that they do a lot in this book. I really loved what they did with Shredder, where because that's one of those things you never really get a proper feel for. Like it's Splinter and Shredder being old friends. It never struck me as Magneto Professor Xavier, because like it didn't turn into this like difference in ideals. It's just Shredder's a jerk, and you kind of wonder how him and Yoshi used to be friends. But in this one, it's that he's like this reincarnation of this dragon demon, and that Splinter helps him out in the afterlife to free himself. I can't wait to see where that goes, because he's watching the Turtles now.
Oh,
he's keeping his distance.
That's the big thing is it. All right, we'll get into some of the big spoilers then, because in issue 100, the dragon finally gets resummoned, which brings Orokusaki back to life. Unfortunately, Splinter has to give his life to defeat it, and the Turtles are now they've been without him really for half the series, because they became estranged from him when he took over the Foot Clan, and they couldn't be a part of that, and they finally kind of reconnect with him, and he dies, and now they need to forge their own path. But also in the lead up to that, Baxter Stockman's running for mayor. So at one of his campaign rallies, Hobb crashes it because he's kind of become like a mutants' rights kind of character, which makes sense because in a lot of labs and stuff, like they're just horrible experiments. He's kind of had bad experiences with humans, like he doesn't like humanity. That's kind of one of the things that he and the Turtles butt heads about. Like I said, became in charge of the mutant animals, and Slash has been a really good. We'll get into Slash on his own.
Slash.
Because Slash was also really good.
That's another great story.
But he creates a mutagen bomb and unleashes it on like a huge crowd of humans, and like I think it takes over a couple blocks of New York. So all of a sudden, there's just tons of humans that are mutants, and it's become like a walled-off slum city. So that's kind of where, and then it's like, do the Turtles get involved? Like, how do you fit into this new? It's a crazy new continuity, or new status quo rather. And I'm really excited to see where they take that, because that seems to be a big focus of the post-issue 100 things that they're going to do. But yeah, so lots of crazy stuff happened at the end of issue 100.
City at War was great.
So good.
There was a
build up too.
Agent Bishop, that was a weird thing.
Yeah.
Oh wow, that was.
Oh my God, how many
bizarre.
talked
What was
about
that? What was that about?
So he's kind of like a kind of a foil for Krang, because he's also kind of like a head
Yeah,
of
it's
the
like
body.
what was that thing?
That was an interesting way to take him, but yeah, he ties into to Slash, whereas Slash I think was who created Slash in this, because I know he was another genetic experiment.
Wasn't he? Was that this continuity where he was Raph's pet, or was that just in the 2012?
No, that was the
That's
2012 cartoon.
Yeah.
Okay.
In this, they find him, but he's kind of like a mindless monster. But they eventually get through to him, and they kind of like deprogram
Something
him.
like, didn't something happen where he becomes intelligent through like a secondary mutation kind of thing? Or
Something
again, am I
with
conflating that with the
mutagen or
2012
something.
series?
Something they get through to him. And anyway, he becomes their friend and becomes like a really likable character and joins the Mutant Animals and like kind of becomes Hobbs' like friend, and it kind of softens Hob a lot. Anyway, they Agent Bishop and his like anti-mutant, anti-alien group
I think it's the
murder
Earth
him.
Protection Force.
Yeah, they kill him. Oh no, they don't. Well, they eventually do kill him, but they kind of take him. I think they
made
actually
him into a puppet.
I think they actually created him, and then they kind of like wiped his brain and like took over his body, and then eventually made him into a bomb. But yeah, I think their first big thing was the Triceratons. I kind of loved them in this, where they were like all right. So the joke is we talk about Star Trek, specifically Deep Space Nine, all the time in the show, but the Utroms, like in this, they're kind of like the founders in the Dominion, and they took Triceratopses from Earth and through genetic manipulation made them into their foot soldiers like the Jem'Hadar in Deep Space Nine. So they're kind of like just created to just like be soldiers and kill, and like they kind of have like a Klingon-ish like warriors code of ethics. Anyway, they after the Utroms are defeated, and part of their deal, they would get like land appropriation and from the neutrinos, and the neutrinos were like, well, this is the planet you're from, you can just go back there. Unfortunately, it's Earth, and they set down in New York City, and the turtles aren't there to like kind of help them out. So the Earth Protection Force then like does a full-on assault and kind of becomes another war in the city. Eventually, there's an island that the Utroms have been terraforming with the Technodrome that like people can't live. The oxygen, the atmosphere there is all different. They move the Triceratons there eventually. They live with some of the last surviving Utroms. They kind of need to work together, but like the Utroms don't like them because they're like, well, they're just stupid soldiers, and the other guys don't like them because they enslaved us for years, and it's kind of an interesting impasse there. And that was I think something from the TMNT universe stories, if I'm not mistaken. And I haven't followed up on that, and it's really cool, and I want them to really bad. But now that kind of Krang's sort of coming back, I think we'll probably touch on them again soon. But I know they had Donatello work as like an arbitrator between the two groups to try to work out some peaceful coexistence for them. Yeah. But yeah, there's so much to talk about. I can't believe it's only been like 100 issues. There's so many things we haven't even brought up yet, I'm sure.
It's a very dense series.
Yeah, every issue something's good. There's no wasted stuff. And even in like the quote unquote filler issues where it's like the turtles are kind of recuperating, there's lots of great character building and stuff. Really good.
When a new issue comes out, it's like, oh, okay. There's
a new, as of this recording, next Wednesday has a new issue. So I'm excited. I just caught up, I'm excited. I'm excited for you to catch up too, Kendall. I know you've only read up to issue 100.
Yeah. I have a couple, like 4 more in my pile to read.
Nice.
So, I'll get to it.
But yeah, is there anything else I'm missing? I'm sure I am. John, I'm sorry we haven't given you much opportunity to talk.
No, it's okay. I've been listening because I started on the IDW series pretty late. I started around like issue 93. But to kind of like reiterate what Chris said before about the emotional standpoint of the series, post issue 100, it's been nothing but like an emotional ride. That's been pretty interesting. Like I don't think we've ever seen this with the Turtles, where just so much is going on emotionally that it's kind of hard for them to function the right way.
Yeah, it's like they're real full 3D characters, and it's been wonderful. And like I said, I may not have been right gung ho for it from the start, but I was basically after the first 6 or so issues, I was pretty on board. It's been consistently great ever since.
Yeah.
Oh, it's so good.
I will say, not to spoil anything, but the last page, I think, on the previous, so the most recent issue is 105. The last page is really interesting.
I'd have to
Refresh-
look
I just
at it.
read it a couple of days ago, but refresh my memory.
I
Okay.
think I have it right here.
Close your eyes.
Again,
You're
I don't want to
good.
spoil anything, but
Just
I
give
think
me
I'm
something
pretty sure it's the
loose.
last page. But it's something to do with like a portal and
Oh, I
some
remember
sort of
now.
time travel.
I do have it. The issue right
Yeah.
here.
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah, but
That
yes.
was, that's really cool, actually.
Yeah.
Really, really cool.
It's funny because like up through issue 100, they kind of wrapped up all the big ongoing stories more or less. So you feel like, oh, where would you take it from here? But like, they've got lots of places they can
there's
go.
so
now.
much-
There's
Yeah,
lots of
there's
irons
so
in the
much
fire
to
with
do.
Krang and Leatherhead. That's a
Yeah.
thing.
The current
Yeah.
status quo
Yeah.
we alluded to is
What exactly is going on with Rokosaki, right?
Yeah.
What is his deal? What are his current motivations besides doing Splinter right?
because like
and-
when in Shredder in Hell, him and Splinter teaming up, it kind of made Shredder a good guy at the end of
They
it.
did. They
So
made
it's
him,
like-
and he owes Yoshi. He owes him.
He's like, I owe you, and like I can see him being like, listen, I'm gonna take care of your family or whatever, but like I can see them like kind of like an Avatar: The Last Airbender thing with Zuko. It was like, we've tried to kill us so many times, like even though he's trying to like be their friend now. Like,
Mhm.
I
or
also
even
just,
or an even better analogy when Magneto runs the X-Men.
yeah,
like-
I'm excited to see that.
Ugh, me too. Me
Yeah.
too.
Yeah, I feel like there's City at War kind of wiped away a lot of the stories that, while they're definitely done with a new take in this continuity, we've seen a lot of these things before. So I'm always excited when things get shaken up and I don't know what to expect. Like, good guy Shredder? What?
Yeah.
Never.
I guess it's a good segue. The last big talking point I wanted to get to are our thoughts on the future of the franchise, not just IDW, but in general, because they just announced a new movie. There's kind of no details on that yet, or there's no details on that yet, right? Just that it's going to be all CGI. But
Yeah, and like Seth Rogen's movie studio is supposed to
I didn't
be
see
involved
that.
in the development.
Maybe it'll be good.
Better him than Michael Bay. So
Yeah.
Look, I'll give anything a fair shake. Rise of TMNT is not my bag of tea, but
I will say this. All right, so I originally like Rise of TMNT. I liked the designs. So I originally saw that. I was like, it's cool. It doesn't look like it's my thing. I saw 1 or 2 episodes. Apparently they were bad because I was like, all right, this is just not my show. Kendall cherry picked a bunch of episodes for me. That is a good show, and it is worth watching. They do something totally new. I'm super glad that they're able to do something so weird and different, and they make it completely their own. I think it might have my favorite version of Donatello in any version of this of the character. Instead of just being kind of like a dweeby-ish nerd, he's like kind of confident and sarcastic. He's a little bit more like he is in the first movie. And it's fun. Like they're all different personalities and stuff. Like they deal with yokai. It's much more mystic than sci-fi. It's really, really cool. I can't believe I'm recommending it as hard as I am. Because a week ago I would have been like, whatever, it's for kids. I don't care. I'm not the target audience.
yeah,
Kendall,
that brings us back to that Uncle Iroh.
So Splinter in it is definitely a lot more like Uncle Iroh in that. Where he's kind of like fat and like in the beginning he seems like kind of like he doesn't know what he's doing. He's kind of training them like by watching like martial arts movies. I don't want to get too much into it because there's an amazing spoilers in it. But man, it's good. Like I can't believe there's spoilers in the show that looks that silly. But no, I highly recommend it. I recommend kind of guest cherry picking it. I'm sure there's a guide. Because like the couple episodes I saw like were bad, and I was like, I'm not watching this. Like,
yeah, there's some rough ones, but there's some fun ones. The showrunner of the 2012 show was involved in the beginning of the development before he went over to do one of the Star Wars cartoons. So it had that good direction at the beginning. It's definitely different. But That's not always bad. It has some stinkers, but
At least the episodes are only like 11 minutes long, so you just blow through them when they're bad.
yeah, or just skip them. The good ones are great.
The good ones are really good. The animation in it is actually really good. People say it stinks. I think they just don't like the designs, the art style, which that's a personal taste thing. But
there's nothing. Yeah, I can't say that it's not a well-made show, but there's something. It's similar to, and I've gotten crap for this before, and I feel bad that I've never been able to get into it. But like, what was that? That Batman Brave and the Bold.
I love Brave and the Bold.
It's one of those things that it showed itself to be really worthwhile. I've never been able to get into it. There's just something about it that doesn't click with me, but there's no question that it is a quality show. And I think that's the situation with Rise of TMNT. Like I look at it and like, it's just not, it's not my Ninja Turtles, and that's fine. It doesn't have to be.
Yeah.
I have plenty of Ninja Turtles. Like, and but it just there's something about it that I can't make myself get past and to get into it. So
and that's fine. And you've got kids, maybe they'll be into it. Maybe them watching it, maybe you'll get into it.
Who the heck knows, man? I am showing them Avatar right now, though. That's going great.
I just saw Avatar for the first time. I loved it.
I did the same thing.
I was afraid it wasn't going to live up to the hype. I just needed stuff to watch during the quarantine. And I was like, everyone talks about this. I was like, whatever, I'll give it a shot. I tried watching it years ago, and the beginning of it's a little like kiddie, and I was like,
it is, yeah.
I was like, maybe this is something I kind of needed to grow up with, because we were like, I was like a full-on adult when that started.
Mm-hmm.
I would say that was a cool show to grow up with.
Yeah, I'm kind of jealous of you guys.
Yeah,
cool. I'm kind of jealous of my kids on that in that respect right now, because it's fun watching. My son's 6. And my daughter's 3. My daughter always identifies with the villain. So every time the show starts, she stands up like for the intro when they say that the Fire Nation attacks. She always jumps off the couch and does some fire bending. It's adorable. It's like she's always just like, yeah, Azula and whatnot. Like, okay,
that show lives up to the hype. But I will say, I'm not going to recommend Rise of TMT nearly as much, but it's worth watching. It's above what I would consider average for the Turtles. But because it's so unique, I think it's definitely worth experiencing, at least the good episodes. Because it definitely has an ongoing story, believe it or not, that builds up toward, because we watched the end of it because I didn't care. But I was like, wow, this is really cool. And it's legitimately funny. I was laughing at it and stuff. The episodes I saw, I had a good time. So there's something to that. And if it's not your thing, it's not your thing.
Yeah, not everything has to be my thing.
Read the IDW books. I'm glad it did something different. One of the things I'm always begging for is like when you're going to reboot something, do something new. I've already seen the 80s cartoon. I don't like for Turtles. I don't need to see the new ones. Like Thundercats Roar is not going to be a thing for me. I know that, but like whatever, something different. I've got the 80s cartoon. They did like the serious adult version of it.
And it's not like the 80s cartoon of Thundercats is high art.
Any good, yeah. Like we mentioned,
it's like all the people pissed off about She-Ra. Like, when was the last time you watched the original She-Ra?
We talked about it in episode 3 of the podcast because it was our queer representation episode, and She-Ra had just ended. And spoiler alert,
still haven't watched the last season, so don't kill
I'm not
anything for me.
Anything.
Because we were also watching that with the kids, but they kind of fell off of it for. I forget where I think we switched over to DuckTales for a bit, and now they're on Avatar. So it's like we're going to get back to She-Ra, but it's like the show got a lot more serious, and then the kids got a lot less interested in it. Me and Karen, my wife, were just like, I want to see what happens next.
Yeah. Well, I was about to say, not to give too much away, but I'm kind of waiting for someone to catch up on DuckTales, and we're going to do a DuckTales episode of the show because I am super into the Disney Ducks, and there's so much to talk about with that show.
It's so good. It's stupid good.
But I mentioned in our queer representation episode, one of our customers came in, and because She-Ra is like, I never cared about He-Man. I didn't care about She-Ra. I was like, the show looks like whatever. I was like, it's fine. But someone came in and was telling me the show looked too gay to watch. I'm like, A, what does that even mean? And B, have you seen He-Man? It's like the gayest show that's ever existed.
Because it's too gay to watch.
But like the original series is also like thinly veiled toy commercial.
Oh my god!
The characters are all super flat. So it's like whatever. I was kind of interested in maybe watching. So it's like what I kind of spite watched it, and then like Yeah, there's definitely gay characters in it. So I love that Double Trouble to use they them pronouns because he's a well. I'm not using them, but they're a shapeshifter and they can go for people that are either gender. So it kind of made sense.
I love Bo's dads. Bo's
Bo
dads are
has two
so.
dads.
Oh my
Well,
god,
like
they're so great. They're so fantastic.
But he comes out to them as an adventure, and it's like analogous to coming out to your parents as homosexual. It's a good show. If you don't want to have time to watch the whole thing, just go back and listen to the queer representation episode of this podcast. We talked about it a bit because that was one of the big things I wanted to talk about in that episode. But like, yeah, do something new with it. Like, I like seeing something different, and especially a lot of these shows. The only reason the original Ninja Turtle show existed was so Playmates would make a toy line because they wanted a toy line for the comics. That's why the original Turtles toys, like, they don't have pupils. They're kind of mean looking. Like, they're a little bit more like the comic books.
Question, speaking of doing something new, that was something in the 2012 cartoon that really impressed me was that ever a thing in the comics with Karai was actually Splinter's daughter?
No.
Because that surprised the heck out of me, and that was an awesome twist.
In the original comic run, Karai is not introduced until the very last story arc, and all she is like a different leader of the Foot Clan. She's nobody's daughter.
Yeah, she's the leader of the Japanese wing or something of it.
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha.
She shows up after they defeat the Foot Clan here, like, hey, I'm going to just try to take this over and we're just going to leave you alone. And then it just ended. But they've done different things with Karai. She was Shredder in the IDW comics, right? I know that they made her...
In the 2K3.
Didn't she become... Adam, you've been reading the reprints. Wasn't she Shredder in the IDW comics as well?
Do you mean the Image comics?
Image comics. I'm sorry.
I was going to say.
The Image? Let me see. No spoiler, she's back in it. And now actually the volume 3 they're actually finishing the last 3 issues they never got to do.
I was going to say, that's, again, IDW's kind of killing it with the license
which
stuff.
is pretty sweet. But yeah, they have this whole thing. There's a lady Shredder, and then there's, they're still keeping a mystery in who's who and everything.
Okay, there's a lady Shredder. I might have thought it was Cry. I know she takes over.
But she definitely pops in.
Yeah, she takes over as the new Shredder for a little while in the 2K3 cartoons.
Yeah,
but she became that Shredder's adopted daughter.
According to Turtlepedia, I believe she does don the old Shredder armor in the Mirage series at some point.
Maybe it was volume 2. I don't know much about volume 2.
Yeah, 3's fun. It's just like, it's very 90s and so blocky with the...
It's 90s Image.
Yeah.
It crosses over a Savage Dragon and everything.
Yeah, good old Savage Dragon.
Yeah.
The Flaming Carrot, don't forget about him.
Oh, is he in that too?
Not in that one, but they did a crossover with them too. It's like, what?
Turtles is a crossover with everything but Daredevil.
Yeah, come on, guys. Marvel.
No. Man, there's so much cool stuff out there. I'm not a big fan of the Image comics, but I do think it's awesome that it's ending. It's getting a conclusion. Because for people that were into it, or, like, they finally, like, it's like 20 years later and you get a conclusion. I'm never going to get a conclusion with Volume 4 Mirage, I think, at this point. They put out one page that kind of serves as a wrap-up, but it's not the same.
It's not the same. I am very interested to see what The Last Ronin is going to be.
Oh, yeah, Eastman and Laird are back together.
Yeah. I wouldn't mind if that served as a true conclusion to the Mirage continuity.
I would be very okay with that. But even if it's its own thing, that's just cool that it exists,
Yeah, I'm glad they're back together doing stuff.
Is that going to be like a one issue or a miniseries?
I think it's 5.
I says the guy who works the comic store, I should know, but
I think it's 5, and the first one's going to be oversized too, I think, or something.
Oh yeah.
Actual size, yeah. Let's double check.
I think I saw it was oversized, so I was like, oh, maybe they're just doing like a special one shot. But yeah, I do think it is a 5-issue mini.
Yeah, and for the super collectors, there's like 40 plus covers, variant covers, and I ain't doing that.
I'm gonna pick either the base one or just one that looks cool, and I'm gonna be done with it.
Whatever you get from me, Scott, one or two. That's all I'm getting.
Yeah, for whatever because I know you usually get all the covers for all the books, but We'll when we get a little bit closer, I'll tell you what we can get, and we'll figure that out. But that's something you guys are interested in coming to the store, and we can get you guys set up with that with a pull box and stuff. But no, Turtles is very good. If you're interested in the IDW books, if any of this sounded cool, this is a good time to jump in. Even though they're 5 issues past issue 100, they're still really easy to jump in. Basically, brand new status quo. Like, what a great place to jump in. I was going to say, when we do our pen and paper RPG, this might be a good place to set it, because it's just a good excuse to have a bunch of mutants now out of nowhere. I was thinking about that. I knew when we were talking about playing that, you hadn't read, so I didn't catch. You hadn't quite caught up. Yes, I didn't want to bring it up.
Thanks for waiting.
Yeah. But yeah, I really want to play that game. We might do. We might record it and put it up on this channel here. That might be fun to do, because I want to do more tabletop stuff, because I definitely have a sequel to Dadlands in mind that I want to play really bad. But we just need to find time to do that. But guys, what are you guys thinking about the future here? John, you the guy who came in most recently. So do you think you came in at a good time? Are you excited for what's coming up?
Oh yeah. To put this in like the best term I can without spoiling anything, I love what they did to kind of honor Splendour's legacy, so to speak. I just think that's so cool, and again, it ties in with like the last page of the most recent issue, and I'm super excited. And I think for anybody who hasn't read the IDW series, now is definitely like the time to kind of hop on and ride it, because, or I'm sorry, read it, because it's going to be great.
Yeah, I'm very. This is the most excited I've been for like a comic book in a while, where it's left off. Which is something,
Yeah.
I definitely don't say it about Marvel and DC books anymore, and I'm for a while. So yeah, I think it's the book I look forward to the most now, because it's been really good, and it's been excited. Like I said, we're in uncharted territory now.
Yeah.
Even though we have a lot of characters that are the bases comes from other stuff, like you were talking about, Leatherhead and Krang and stuff, but like I've never seen them like this before. The Turtles I've never seen in this position before.
Yeah, I was gonna say a lot of the characters they've never been like this. So this is something new. It's different. It's definitely more modern. And it's just kind of a new environment for the Turtles and the new characters that have come around.
I haven't really felt this way since I don't know how many of you guys have. I know Ken and I were reading Mirage Volume 4 at the same time. I don't know how many of you guys read that, but there's a part in that where like aliens and stuff become like revealed to humanity, like the Utroms set up like a spaceport in New York. So people become accustomed to seeing like aliens. So like the Turtles and stuff just walk around and kind of are a part of society now. This is kind of the first time I felt something like that since then. But I will say the Turtles also were no longer teenagers. They had grown up a bit and were kind of moving on and doing their own things. Like they weren't doing the same things they had been doing in that. But that was a good series too. I really liked Volume 4. I just wish it had an end. It was the way it ended, like they were all in really weird places.
Yeah.
Michelangelo had
always becoming a robot.
Donatello was a robot. Raphael was a giant mutant turtle monster.
Well, I guess technically Donatello was tiny.
He was shrunk, but he was in a robot suit. Michelangelo was in space and had a bunch of kids with another, like not a Triceraton, but another Ceratopsian like humanoid race. It was weird. And then it just ended. Leonardo was in the Battle Nexus, and it seemed like that was the 2K3 Shredder that was there. So they were setting up all this cool, weird stuff, and then it just stopped. Then they sold it to Nickelodeon, and, but because of that, we got this series, and as much as I liked Volume 4, I like this one better.
I would love to see what was up with that Battle Nexus, though.
The Battle Nexus was looking so cool. I think Usagi was going to show up.
Yeah.
I love Usagi. As a related note, the Usagi Yojimbo comics are also very good. I recommend them as well. That's also been a consistently very good book, but because Stan Sakai writes and draws it, and he's been getting up in years, that it comes out less frequently than I would prefer. Because at least with Turtles, like we have different artists, like every couple, every story or whatever. Like a regular superhero comic, like they change up the artists, so that way people don't get burned out. But yeah, thank you guys for joining me so much. Any excuse to talk Turtles, I'm down for. And I know I've been wanting to kind of dig into this with some of you guys specifically. Is there any? Do you guys have any online handles or things you would like to promote, give you guys a chance to do that now.
Who wants to go first?
I'll say you spoke first. Go first.
All right. Well, I'm the host of the Stone Age Gamer podcast. I work for StoneAgeGamer.com. It's an online video game retailer. We sell flashcards and stuff like that, and I host their podcast. I write their blog. I am also a staff writer for Nintendo Force magazine, which is a physical magazine. It's distributed worldwide. They have posters and stuff. In their most recent issue, there was an actual origami Peach that you could fold into in the issue that you could get. So if you like
That's awesome.
physical goods and Nintendo, then check out Nintendo Force and check out the Stone Age Gamer podcast. Hosted by geekade.com, which is a site that I do other stuff for, and I'm busy.
Yeah, it's good to be busy. I was on an episode of that once.
Yes, Scott
Yeah.
guested on Stone Age Gamer once. We'll
Yeah.
have to get you on again sometime.
Yeah, man, whenever. I'm planning, not to give too much away, but there are some plans in the works to finally do some video game related episodes of this podcast.
Oh, cool.
I've got some Super Nintendo stuff I want to talk about, so I might reach out to you. I definitely going to reach out. You're way more knowledgeable about this stuff too, because I definitely want to do an episode on obscure retro games that are great, some
Cool.
hidden gem stuff.
Nice.
But yeah, if anyone else has something they would like to plug real quick.
I'll plug the store, Level Up.
So yeah, John and I both work at Level Up Entertainment.
Yes, shop at Level Up. It's an amazing store.
Yeah, levelupentertainment.com is our main site. We've been doing a lot of stuff to get ready, to be coronavirus ready and safe. We're very rigorous in cleaning the store. I've become a huge germaphobe, so I'm very much on it. But if you go to our website, you can also shop online, and we can either mail it to you, or you can pick curbside pickup. If you want like the same day, I can bring out your comics to you, or your video games or whatever you want to get. We do subscription services. Come in. You can buy the IDW Turtles comics. We're also on like Instagram and Twitter and all that stuff. Just look for Level Up Entertainment and you'll find us. But Facebook, we're on Facebook and all that stuff. But yeah, we're good there. I know Kendall, you probably have something you would like to plug.
Yeah. I do a comic book with my wife. It's called Star Savior Bunny. If you're a fan of Sailor Moon or the Unbeatable Squirrel Girl comic, I think it'd be up your alley. Google it. You can find it. The whole thing's online. But also, I think there might be some issues available at Level Up.
I don't remember what we have offhand. I do know we have some issues of it. If you're a fan of print media.
You may, sometimes we do little mini comics, and I'll just sneak into Level Up and just slide them between some pages of some trades that I like. So you might find a surprise. Definitely shop at the store.
Yeah. And then Adam, do you have any like Twitter or anything you
No,
like to use?
just a comic book enthusiast, and no, just.
All right. Say if I didn't have the store, I definitely wouldn't have anything and pay attention to it. So
But if I do, I'll let you know.
Yeah, we'll definitely plug you. But you can come see you in the store occasionally. Come in and buy some stuff. You were in today, and you guys played some pinball. We got pinball going again.
Yeah, and if you guys are listening, Level Up's always a great place to go. Great guys, and always.
I'm not fishing for all this stuff, but I'll take it.
Hey,
It's like those videos of the fish that just jump in the boat. I'm like, all right, whatever.
Hey,
I
talking
have a
turtles,
friend
I
of
love it.
mine. I have a friend of mine who lives up in North Jersey, and he always buys like a mountain of games every time he comes to visit me. I mean, obviously he hasn't in a long time because of COVID, but my friend Mike, he lives up in North Jersey right by Digital Press.
I did not know he knew you. I know him, yeah, because he comes in and buys a big stack of things.
Yeah, Mike Sheridan. He comes in and and buys stuff. He's a super cool guy. He streams stuff online from time to time, but he lives right by Digital Press in Clifton. And that, if you've never been there before, it's one of the best retro gaming stores in the country. And he still loves coming by Level Up. Whenever he comes to see me, they got to go to Level Up and see what kind of weird games they got in stock. And he always leaves with a bunch of whatever the worst, like $2 garbage you've got at your store.
Got plenty of that.
He
I was about
just
to say,
walks out the door with a bunch.
I say it every day. It's like, I don't know what's going to walk through my door any given day. Like sometimes they get the craziest stuff. Like just randomly you're at Little Samson one day and it's just like, Jesus. But then we usually get like I bought our copy of Samurai Zombie Nation like years ago because it just was sitting there forever. Like I knew what it was, but the average person now it's like a super expensive game. No, we try to find some really cool stuff. We're not buying too much stuff right now because of COVID and like there's a lot of other things going on. One of the things I guess I should follow up, because I mentioned in the last non-live episode that our one of our owners, Greg, was expecting a baby. I can report that they've since had her. Sadie is her name. I don't know the weight or anything because Greg doesn't tell anyone anything, but I know he's going to be coming up. We're going to have a baseball episode pretty soon once the new season starts. He and Harry and our friend Joey are big baseball fans. I'm going to be in that one mostly just to hit record on the conversation, but it's really fun listening to them talk about it. But yeah, no. So congratulations to Greg and his wife Mo. I know they're she and baby are still recovering. So Greg's not been at the store for a little bit. He's on paternity leave. His planned paternity leave just so happened to be the same day we could start opening back up. So it's been interesting not having Greg in the store, but congratulations to them. But I guess that'll wrap us up for this episode. If you have a topic you'd like to see us tackle in a future episode, please leave a comment or contact us at contact@levelupentertainment.com. Our topic next week will be The Legend of Zelda, what we hope we see in Breath of the Wild 2. Until then, be safe out there.
Take care.
All right. Let me just
Turtle power.
Oh, real quick. This is going to be a special bonus for the YouTube crowd. I'm going to cut this stuff out because it's going to be visual and not matter for the audio. But some of us have some cool things that we were requested that we could show off. I'll start us off. This is the coolest Turtles comic I own. This is the first printing. I have Raphael #1 micro series.
Oh yeah.
First appearance
Nice.
of Casey Jones. If I can figure out how to get it up on my.
All right, I'll
Yeah,
be
there
right
it
back.
is.
I got some stuff. Hold on.
Oh yeah, go grab them. First appearance of Casey Jones. I did bring this. So I met Kevin Eastman a couple of years ago at a retailer summit. I've told the story in the live episode last night because someone asked us if we met Stan Lee, so none of us did. So we just talked about cool people we met. But I got a bunch of things signed by him. He was going to be at the Baltimore Comic-Con, which we were planning to get at. I don't know if you can see his signature here, but so I brought that to get signed with him. But then he unexpectedly IDW brought him to the retailer booth, and he had a big stack of comics that they would sign. You just had to wait in a long line because everyone wanted to get some. So I did that, and I didn't get a chance to get him to sign my Raphael because that was the CGC was there, and I actually would have gotten it graded then if I had done that. But it's still cool that I have it. Adam, I know you had some cool stuff you were
Yeah.
got to show off.
Yeah, some fun things. I mean, there's no particular order. We all know the classic, first cover. So I met Eastman a couple of times too, and he had one from this is like from 14. This is like Turtles, literally from 2 seconds jumping in before the original issue. So this is
Okay.
like 10 seconds before they
Yeah.
the building.
The
That's
original issue
great.
cover is one of my favorites. My shirt is actually the original cover, but with Koopa
Yeah.
Troopas.
So this is them 10 seconds before they get in the classic pose.
Yeah.
On.
I do remember that. That was a con exclusive one, wasn't it?
Yeah, it's great when you see him in his booth. He's got some great stuff, and I just I'll take that.
Yeah, of course.
Fun stuff, the number 3 printing.
See, I have #1, but it's like 5th or 6th. It's like, and it doesn't have
Yeah.
a cool cover.
Yeah, and just like you, Scott, got Raphael. Got to keep the Raphael.
Nice.
Nice.
Oh yeah,
It's a weird size, otherwise mine would be frames too.
yeah, and these aren't as exciting, but I got 4 and 5. And
That's rad.
And this is just for fun, but I didn't put it in the actual show. But they finally did one of my fan letters after like 3 attempts. So I'm in
Yeah.
one too. I just got this extra variant one.
Yeah, I remember you were really excited to show me your fan letter in 102.
Yeah, that's like I'm in the book. Yeah, there you go.
That's great.
We actually brought that up in one of the earlier podcasts. Someone brought up the fan letters and Stan's soapbox and whatever.
Yeah.
And I was like, I never really read those, but I was like, one of our customers is in an issue of Ninja Turtles now.
I was just like, yeah, finally in the book. And then
What was your
he's-
question?
Oh, actually, I it was just silly things. Of course, I keep hounding about the Daredevil and Turtle one, and I also say, hey, how great it is, and congratulations, 100. I want them to do I would like an Ace Duck miniseries because they had them show up in the that one offshoot where they're getting
Oh
The
yeah,
Trial of Krang mini.
trial
yeah,
people.
yeah. Where he was one of the witnesses to testify against Krang.
Yeah, and Ace Duck was so cool. I'm like, can we get an Ace Duck miniseries? Can we do a little micro there?
Yeah, why not?
Yeah, and then the last one is I met Eastman up in Albany the first time I met him, And he was real cool. Actually, I didn't pay for anything for the sign. He was all like super nice. It was all free. So I bought this. He literally was selling this for like $5. And then inside, I want to.
Yeah, let's take a look. Oh, he drew a whole turtle.
Drew a whole. I asked him what he said. What turtle? I said, you pick.
Oh, so he picked Raphael because he always picks Raphael.
Yeah.
So when he signs his name, he usually puts a little turtle head there too. That's cool. He
Yeah.
did the whole interior.
Oh yeah, I got a little
people,
stink
yeah.
bug in there too. Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. So those are some of the extra fun ones.
That's really cool. I'm pretty jealous of that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Say, I know you got some stuff there, Kendall.
I mean, on short notice, I just grabbed what I had out. As far as Turtles goes, my two earliest are first printings of 3 and 4. You might recognize that from the Vidya game.
Yeah.
As mentioned earlier, Eastman Laird worked on a book before Ninja Turtles. This is the first printing of Fugitoid. In subsequent printings, they actually. Oh wait, maybe I lied. Maybe this isn't the first printing. Anyway, this is an old, oversized Fugitoid comic. I wonder if it'll tell me. I don't know. I think it's cool. And then I also have an Eastman turtle sketch.
Oh, you got a Donatello. Nice.
Yeah, I'm glad you guys got different turtles.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was surprised that it wasn't Raphael.
Yeah. He said he's notorious for loving Raph. It's clearly his favorite character. Which is fine. Yeah, gotta have a favorite, you know.
I guess so.
So, Chris, I know you ran and grabbed some stuff.
I did, yeah. I've got this little guy right here. Was a gift from a friend of mine. It's an original, unopened, unpunched Splinter action figure from the first line.
MOC.
Yeah, really snazzy. He's gross looking.
Because that's what he looked like in the comics.
Yeah.
That's why they look so different.
And then speaking of gross looking, as mentioned earlier in the show, there it is. Coming out of their shells tour on VHS, on glorious VHS. Look at these horror shows.
I used to have the
Absolute
I used to have the cassette tape.
Yeah, this was a friend of mine moved out of his old house, and they had this crazy VHS collection. And he's like, "You got to take something. Just take something, because we're not taking this all with us." And I saw this sitting on there. I was like, "Yeah, okay, I'll take this. I'll hang on to this. I'll give it a good home."
I guess I could have ran and grabbed it, but I do have my VHS copy of the original movie still.
I've got it's in a box, not too far.
Probably
that
worn
would have
to
taken some digging.
It's probably worn to like unwatchability because I watched it so many. That's one of the movies that I knew every word of at one point. Like I could watch it and just say everything that happens in it.
Every episode of the Stone Age Gamer podcast, when Dan and I stop recording, we always ask each other what episode it is, and then whatever episode number it is, it's that and an 8th. They said 122 and an 8th.
And an 8th.
Terrific.
Yeah.
Where the heck is 122 and an 8th? You're standing on it, dude. And then we just go through the whole thing. It's
every time I order Domino's, I want to use. I want to do that.
You gotta wonder how many of them would get it.
I do. I quote the pork rinds part a lot. It's just kind of like quote the things in Ninja Turtles I think nobody else will get. Like we do in the original cartoon when they first fight the foot and they do ninjas, they go clang. Did you say clang? I don't know why we quote that so much.
Yeah,
but we do.
Latched onto it.
We've been quoting that since high school.
Every time we make pizza in the house or a shred cheese, I pick up the shredder and I go to my kids. And my kids have no idea what I'm talking about. I say, "Now you face the shredder." Maybe all that hardware is for making coleslaw. They have no idea, but I'm over here cracking up.
I also do what we expected, maybe the Addams Family from Turtles 3.
Oh, God.
You got to do the head thing that Donatello does.
That movie is so bad.
I kind of like it in the way that I like kind of bad movies. It's not good. I'm not going to tell you it's good. I'll argue that Turtles 2 is a fun movie.
It is a fun movie. That is a good kids Turtles movie.
It's a good fun movie. It's not the first
There's some
movie.
good humor in there, like the missing link with the combat cold cuts. And of
Oh,
course, one of the funniest things I've ever seen in my life, a little too Raph.
I quote
That is
all
a
the time.
great gag. That is a wonderful joke.
I use it. I actually do that all the time. I'm playing two D&D podcasts. I'm not doing podcasts. I'm playing two D&D campaigns, and every time we do like an investigation check, they're like, "Well, it seems a little quiet." I'm like, "Is it a little too quiet?" And they're like, "Oh, maybe." I was like, "Is it a little too Raph?" And nobody gets it but me, but it makes me laugh, so I don't care.
That's the only thing that's important.
Yeah. Oh, I love. I. All right, so I guess we're getting more than just the visual things we get. I love those movies so much.
They're so good.
TMNT's fun for what it is, but like it's not anything special. It's
all right.
Yeah, I had a great time seeing it in the theater because it was like, oh, a new Ninja Turtle movie. But
actually, Kendall, you and I saw that together with some of our other friends, and then after we were done, we went on YouTube because YouTube was still kind of new. I remember we were trying to find the fight between Raphael and Leonardo because we thought it was cool. And then we saw, this is how I discovered the Angry Video Game Nerd. He did a review of Turtles and Turtles 3. And I guess because it was late, so we're all a little punch drunk. Maybe we saw his NES game one first and then saw Turtles 3 one. But I remember we watched those back to back, and it was the funniest thing I'd ever seen at the time. And then I ended up like following him, and now obviously everyone knows who the Angry Video Game Nerd is. But yeah, that's Turtles have kind of been with me like every step of my life, even when I grew out of it for most of the 90s. Because like I kind of grew out of it with the cartoon, and then you start doing that thing where you're like, oh, I'm putting away like the things I was into as a kid. Next Mutation didn't help the case, and then the series kind of went dormant for a while. I mean, the comics were kind of always coming out, but I never paid attention to those. But yeah, so I guess that's it for the second round of podcast. And I don't know if you had anything cool you wanted to show off, John.
I have a little like Donatello pop here.
I mean, that's still cool.
yeah,
Wise choice.
Is he your favorite guy?
He is. Yeah.
Yeah, who's everyone's favorite turtle?
My favorite when I was a kid was Donatello. Now I honestly don't know who I would pick, honestly, now. I know that's a cop out. If everyone else wants to go first, I'll go last. Kendall, who's your favorite?
dang. So I can tell you, like, if we were like, oh, in this iteration, what's your favorite? I could answer that, but like you, overall, I can't pick one.
I can't pick one.
I love all my children equally.
Got it. So your answer is Splinter.
Yeah.
Ooh.
All right. Who's the Venus de Milo fan here? Huh? Anyone a big Venus?
Well, Chris, what's your favorite turtle then? Since we're
Donatello.
Donatello.
Without a question. You know what? It's weird because honestly, originally the reason he was my favorite, because in the original cartoon, I thought Mikey was the funniest, but Donatello has the best reach in the NES game.
Yeah.
And so he was my favorite turtle.
He's the best in all of the games.
He is. And then from there, it just kind of built on, I loved him in the movie. I thought he was hysterical. And I just really grew to love his personality of just being all about thinking, just doing tech stuff. And I thought the bow staff was the coolest weapon. So he became my legit favorite character based on how awesome he was in the NES game.
Let's say, Adam, do you have a favorite turtle?
As a kid, it was always Leonardo. It's just the leader, Boy Scout, whatever. But I mean, as an adult, it turned into Raph because he's jaded and he's mad at everything. He's like,
but he's not the voice of Liquid Snake.
Yeah. But he's just the most relatable.
I will say, yeah. If we're talking, we can pick iterations. My favorite version of Donatello is Rise of the TMNT. My favorite version of Raph is probably the IDW version. My favorite Leonardo is probably 2K3. My favorite Mikey's probably the 80s cartoon. I think I'm cool with that as my cop-out answer.
Fair enough. It's a good one. I'll take it.
Yeah. Those are all the gun to my head ones if you had to give them to me. But yeah, I guess all right. So we got a little bit of a bonus podcast here for the people on YouTube. So make sure you tell your friends to subscribe here. Or wherever you're listening to this, I don't care. Make sure you follow us if you want, or like and give us a like, or don't, whatever. I don't care. I do this for my own enjoyment. So Hopefully someone else enjoys it too. I hope you guys had fun.
Yeah.
Certainly did.
Yeah.
It's a great
I'll
time.
definitely. So in the podcast, even though we just did a Ninja Turtles episode, we will talk about them again at some point. We may not. We may talk about something else a little bit more. I'm sure when the new movie comes out, we'll talk about that. So there'll be more opportunities to talk Turtles in the future, and I can have you guys on for, we're all into more than one thing, so I'm sure we'll have other things we can talk about at some point. But thanks again for watching, everyone, and have fun and be safe out there.